Okay, Carly, you want to start?
Yep. We are Team 16253 BEAST Robotics. BEAST stands for Be Excellent at Science and Technology. Our team started in the summer of 2019. We tried to partner with Pine Creek High School, but none of the teachers were willing, so we work out of the McLean's home. Our team is comprised of 6 members: myself, Elizabeth Joseph, Mark McLean, Michael Herzig, Kylie Schrenk, and Lauren Schrenk. Today, we will talk about how our team has adapted to the COVID-19 situation. There have been things that have gone well, but we have also faced challenges. Throughout this difficult time, we have tried to keep up morale and make sure we are still having fun. Elizabeth will now explain some aspects that have gone well.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Joseph, and I'll be going over things that have gone well this season. Every season, we make it our duty to demonstrate our team core values. These team core values include perseverance, innovation, student focus, and inspiration or fun. The theme you'll see throughout this speech is our resilience during COVID-19, and will include core values listed above. An important factor to our strong team is communication. Our way of communication has always been constrained from 101. Every meeting we would be conducted on Zoom, and our mentors would send emails and reminds to the members of the team to stay updated on our progress. Not only did we incorporate technology into our communication, we also used technology we weren't familiar with as a new team. GitHub was a great site to put all of our engineering notebooks, photos, etc. SolidWorks was also fairly new to us because we weren't familiar with 3D printing. We've now been able to create pieces using 3D printing. We've also partnered with Dataforce this year, and they've given us really helpful information and tips for our robot. They've joined our Zoom meetings if we need help, and take a look at our problems we're facing to see if they can help in any way. Now on to Carly Fox.
This year, our team decided to use an Andy Mark kit to build our chassis. This allowed us to focus less on designing the main body of the robot and more on the attachments for the different parts of the game. Even with the added challenges, we have kept working on the robot and we are preparing for competition. We have become a 501c3 this year so we can get more funding for our team. Although it took a while, it will be a big help to our team. Luckily, we have enough resources to be able to distribute parts to our virtual team members so that everyone is able to work on the robot and feels included. Our team grew a lot this year. Half of our team is now comprised of new members. Mark will now explain some of the challenges we have faced.
One of the biggest challenges we had this year were the unclear expectations on how FTC would run its competitions. From even before the season, we had no clue how FTC would work, if it would be virtual or in person or some other version of that. So we had to base our motives off of one thing, which we decided to be our robot performance. We also had to modify our meetings to the ever-changing COVID gathering rules and restrictions. So we would have to make adjustments to our meeting on the fly. So when we were in yellow and orange, we were able to meet like normal. We just had a reduced number of students in the house. And then once we hit red, we had to go fully online because there were no visitors allowed for anything personal. Then we also had to work around the unstable schedules from school and work and other activities. So luckily, since our team is private, we can change the meeting times and schedules to adapt to the schedules of our members. Some other challenges were finding how to make an inclusive environment for our remote members. So this would always include us trying to get feedback from the virtual members as much as possible in any way we can help them to stay interactive with the robot and with the team. We also had to find ways to motivate the team and encouraging people to stay on the team and stay interested in STEM. We also had to acknowledge that this was a different environment, so we can't reach out to local FLL teams in order to help our team grow for next year. Lauren will now explain some of the ways we overcame these challenges.
We chose to do our competitions remotely this year. They're safer and more inclusive for the students who are choosing remote learning, and we're also able to test our robot with half the field elements, which is cheaper and saves space. We have hybrid meetings, which allows students to choose whether they want to attend in person or remotely, which works well both with the changing COVID regulations and with everyone's messy schedules. We've also adjusted our expectations this year. We are working in a much tougher environment this year, which will mean that it's going to be a lot harder to work on the robot, and as such, the robot probably isn't going to perform as well as we'd like. It also means we're not going to have as much outreach as we'd like. Now, Kylie's going to explain more ways we've adapted.
So we've also just tried to find ways to have fun during our meetings. I remember one meeting we spent some time while we were building the robot talking about our different music tastes. We've also decided to get together outside of robotics meetings to have fun together. We recently did a virtual murder mystery, and we've been looking for other ways to hang out. We've delivered parts to our remote students. We have a picture over here so they can work from home. And we've also taken advantage of our longer build season. We've gone from 4 days a week to 2 days a week. It's made it so much more manageable with our schedules and honestly just more helpful. We've also, through like teleconference programs like Zoom, we've incorporated new mentors from Dataforce. And it's been a great help to our team. Now we're gonna go on to questions.
All right, so any questions?
So take it out of the full, so we can see the chat box. There you go.
Okay, so it doesn't look like anybody's been doing any typing while they've been doing their conversing with you. So don't be shy, guys. This is where they want to hear your questions. They want to hear your input, things that have worked for you guys the same way it worked for them or differently, different things that you did that kind of jump off of anything you heard. And we do have a question in the chat that just wants you to kind of give a little more background on your team as far as like geographically, you know, where are you and maybe even what high schools you come from in that area.
Carly, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, so we are in Colorado Springs, and we all go to Pine Creek High School, right? Yeah, so that's where we're from.
Okay, and then the next question says, Sarah would like to know, how do you plan on bringing the parts back together from those different locations, like your remote team members' houses?
Elizabeth, do you want to answer that one?
So we've been trying to get everybody to send parts to each other's houses and all sorts of things outside of just doing it.
Elizabeth, can you fix your mic? There's a lot of background noise or something.
I got this web camera that apparently is not working.
Ooh, that's better.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that. So we've been making plans to send, in this speech, you've heard that we send parts to everybody's houses, and we try to make a schedule of which, outside of just doing it online and actually working physically on this robot, our mentor, Mr. McLean, he sends the parts from his house to each of our houses to work on, and he'll send us specific instructions on a piece of paper to finish, and when we finish them, we'll take them back to his house. So that's how we transport everything.
And of course, you're probably doing some sanitizing or something like that,
Yes,
in between as they go from house to house and all that goodness, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. And does that mean that then whoever's at the McLean house is sort of reassembling all those things into your sort of master robot?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so when we are able to have have more people come in person, it'll usually be me and everyone else who comes in person working on putting the robot together, putting all the attachments on. and then trying to make all the attachments fit together with the limited space we have. And then when it's no one else is allowed in the house, it'll usually be me putting it together and then working on adjusting the robot to fit it.
Mhm. Thanks. So the next question from Carson says that you mentioned half your team are new. How have you reached out to potential members? And I imagine that probably has two parts. How did you get those new members in this year? And then how are you planning for, more in the future? As you said, some of your usual ways, like reaching out to FLL teams, not as successful this year, right? So kind of have both of those answers.
So Kylie and Lauren, do you want to explain how we got you guys on the team?
Okay. I mean, to be fair, we are kind of a small team. We got onto this team because we just moved here and
we were looking for an FTC or
we were looking for a
FRC
first team.
We were looking for a first team, and our dad just happened to know the mentor on this team.
And actually, when I lived in California, 2 years ago, I was on the FRC team that their dad started. And that's cool. So now it's like full circle. Now I'm on the FTC team here. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then other ways that we're planning on reaching out to new students would be setting up virtual demos with the middle school teams and working to try and reach out to just other middle schools.
I'd just like to add on that. So we had actually done a demonstration in the beginning of the year last year to Challenger members in Challenger Middle School, and that's where we got Michael and Sierra, which were on our team from before. So unfortunately, they weren't able to show up today, but they have been a good help for our team. So we just try to reach out early to be able to get our newer members.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
So Mark, you may want to clarify. So there's a question here from, is it Brielle? Is that how you pronounce it, Brielle? From Upper Creek, about remote competitions. You may want to just clarify what we knew at the start of the season, what we know now, and what our current approach is.
Right. So what I meant by focusing on the remote competitions was that we haven't actually gone to any competitions. So we just decided to focus on building our robot and the gameplay based on us assuming that we would do remote competitions. Because we figured that if our robot could perform well in remote competitions, then we could easily adjust it to perform well in in-person competitions when there are other robots on the field.
Excellent. Gavin also has a question here that says, outreach has been difficult to manage and participate in this year. That Upper Creek has also experienced that, and I've heard that from a lot of teams. It's a common deal. So he's just asking, what kind of outreach has your team been able to participate in this year, in case that spikes any ideas for anyone else? And if there are other teams that have done other types of outreach after BEAST has shared, if other people can jump in with that as well.
Yeah, so Elizabeth, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so we haven't been able to do it so far, but we've been planning for outreach for this season, and we're actually planning on going with Challenger, and we're doing a virtual demo. So just showing how our progress has been with our robot so far, and trying to recruit new members is what our goal was with outreach at Challenger.
Can you talk a little bit more about what that virtual demo is going to look like and how you've worked that out with Challenger? Because I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, since we've had a relationship with them from doing outreach before, I'd emailed Miss Fricky asking them what times would be good for them, because they have a club that they hold, a virtual club, and we're just presenting the slides of what we're doing, just more about us, and presenting it on Zoom with them. So that's how we've been planning our outreach.
And we're also hoping that we can do a live demonstration of our robot from this season.
And that would be at Challenger too? Is that the hope that?
It's remote, but yes, it's with Challenger.
Chinook.
And Chinook. We're trying other middle schools as well, Chinook, and I think Timberview has a robotics, some kind of robotics club or something.
Yeah, so the Timberview Middle School, that's fairly close to here, maybe 4 or 5 miles. They have a Science Olympiad club. So my company sponsored us, so we'll try and see if we can actually do a robotics demonstration for them. Because it's an engineering company, so there's probably some kids that, well, I know there are kids that we've tried to get on the team. And that's a big part of it is just like in building the robot, frankly, most stuff fails. That you ask 10 people and maybe one of them says they'll come to a meeting, and then out of 5 people that come to a meeting, one of them sticks. So you just got to keep asking.
Right. So Perry, would you like to jump in here with something?
Yeah, I was just trying to brainstorm. I know part of what FIRST likes, and I know it's a challenge, but is to do corporate demonstrations as well. So you try to get people who know nothing about FIRST, or maybe an engineering firm, or we're always looking for volunteers. Our volunteers typically come from a corporation. Well, we'd like more of those, right, Catherine? So
Absolutely.
I would like to challenge everybody that's on this call, reach out to some companies, see if you can do a Zoom and show them your robot, show them your CAD, show them your engineering notebook, kind of explore how can I get those people involved too. Okay, it's important to get students involved. Trust me, that's also important. You're on the right track. But I want to kind of add to that element to think about, how can we get more people, more corporations involved? Because with that comes mentors, and it helps with our judging. It helps across the board with everything. So give it a try. Just thought I'd put that out there.
And it also directly relates to judging, right? There are certain awards that definitely ask you, how did you reach out to those technology companies? How did you share, FIRST and your experiences with FIRST with those companies? And who knows, it could turn into an internship for you too down the road, which would be a win-win.
Thank you.
Yep. How about any of the other teams on the call? I know that some of the other teams on the call have been doing some stuff with outreach. Some of you have done stuff for me, with other presentations and things. So anybody else want to unmute themselves and just verbally give some other ideas?
Hi, I'm Gavin from Upper Creek Robotics. I'm our team's outreach lead, and so usually I'm the person involved with coordinating outreach stuff. This year, something that we've tried to do is really try to expand our contact list, try to reach out to a bunch of other FTC teams like everyone on here. And what we've also tried to do is reach out to a few new sponsor companies. In fact, this coming week, what we're planning on doing is sending out like a sponsor cover letter to a few companies like CenturyLink, State Farm, even looking at a few local car dealerships, because we looked at cars and like, hey, wait a minute, these cars are kind of similar to what we're actually building in our seasons. And so these are just a few things that we're sort of working on currently. And I don't know, we've definitely found it very difficult to find new methods of doing outreach, since most of our outreach in previous years has been a lot of in-person stuff, like going to fairs, presenting our robots through these methods. And obviously, unfortunately, we can't do that anymore. And so we've had to look to new regions.
Mhm. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Gavin. Yep. Well, innovation is one of those core values, right? For for FIRST. So you guys are proving that there is innovation in all parts of what you're doing for FIRST, right? Okay. Are there any other teams out there that want to just chime in to say, yeah, we've done that too, or this is what we thought of, but we haven't done it yet? Anything like that?
Hey, Catherine, this is Scott McLean. So let me talk for a second over my own personal experience of the FIRST family. And really what makes this easy for me personally to keep going despite all of the challenges. And robotics is tough no matter what. And this year's just some ways god awful. The FIRST family, Kylie talked about being on the FRC team in California that I started back in 2011. Mark was actually on that team as a sixth grader. He had to do his own appeal to that. If anybody watched the FRC kickoff this last weekend, the guy from Holy Cows, Kiet. Mm-hmm. So the very first round ever in my entire life as a coach with 3512 in locomotion, Kiet was standing on my right hand. And then, so I knew him there on 968, and then we worked together when they were on 1538 at some of the competitions. So a lot of these folks that you're with, and that this is where that cooperatition's just such a great thing, is, so Gavin, and the others out there, there's a really good chance that you're going to see Mark or Kylie or Carly or Elizabeth or Lauren out there in the future. And that's pretty stinking cool. There are people I meet through work that are like, they find out that I'm a FIRST mentor and they're like, hey, I was on that FRC team. And it becomes these points of conversation. And I kind of give you that because, especially in high school, it's, sometimes hard to see past Friday night, and everything gets amplified of like, oh my God, my robot didn't do well. Instead of being first, I was 24th or whatever. And we've seen that, 973, the FRC team Gray Boss, 3-time world champions in 10 years. For aerial assist, their robot didn't run for 10 out of 11 matches at the Madeira competition. They were personal friends with 254 Cheesy Poofs. And so they got their robot running and they got picked first, and then they won the tournament. So I kind of give you this stuff of like, there's so much more than the frustrations. Oh, my robot's not going to look as nice. It's not going to perform as well. The outreach is tougher. And just kind of step back every now and then and understand that, you just got to keep going. Even if it's a little weird, it's not quite as good, just keep going. All right, that's it.
Yep. Thanks for that. That's really important stuff to remember for sure. So quick question first from Sarah. She wanted to know if your team is on the Colorado FTC Discord channel. In some of these other conversations, we've talked about trying to make it a little bit louder on the Discord channel and have more teams involved. Is BEAST Robotics involved on that Discord?
We are. I think Elizabeth and myself signed up, although I don't know how to use Discord. So I signed up, but I haven't seen any conversations. from this year.
Okay. Sarah, did you want to add anything to that, or just encourage people to more be involved with that?
I'm just looking for teams because we're looking to actually try to start some conversations on the Discord channel. But I don't know how many people are there that are still around. Because yes, there's a lot of names that have been there since last year and stuff. So we're just trying to figure out who's present now. Thank you.
Okay. And maybe if some folks want to, communicate, if you're on Discord, put that in the chat so that Sarah and others will know to kind of look for you guys and recognize that. If anybody wants to be on Discord and needs a link to join or anything like that, please go ahead and contact me and I can get you connected for that. So we'll do it that way. And then Dawn DePriest wanted to know, what do your hybrid meetings look like? So maybe somebody can kind of give an overall picture and kind of step us through what a typical hybrid meeting would look like. And especially that piece of how do you keep those students who are on the remote end, who are not in person, how do you keep them engaged? You talked about bringing parts to their houses. What are some other methods that you've used to keep them engaged in that robotics work?
So Carly, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so I am all virtual right now. So what we've been doing is McLean's have been bringing over parts for me to work on. So what I've been working on lately is the wobble grabber. And so they would bring parts over to me and I would build that. I'd design it and then show them the design, and then we make adjustments and I'd build it and show them each stage. And then as I needed more parts, they would just deliver more parts or, order them on Amazon. And then I just finished it. So we brought it over back to their house and then they're going to put it together with the rest of the robot.
Yeah, and so Kylie and Lauren, do you want to explain how we've run the in-person side of this?
So when we go in person, we always have to wear masks and we have to check for like COVID symptoms when we come in, but basically we're just all in the basement. We try to spread out as much as we can and we're all working there. And
Yeah, we just run it like any other meeting.
Yep, except when we go to talk with the whole team, we're crowding around a computer.
Yeah, that pretty much explains it.
Yeah, there's a lot of adjustments that you make too. We will, so actually, Elizabeth, can you talk about the engineering notebook, about the inputs, the summary, and then what we are looking for the next meeting, and then how we use that to kind of guide the objectives for that meeting?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me because I know I've been having problems. So, okay, cool. So yeah, I've been working on the engineering notebook. So what we do is we take at least 10 minutes at the end of every meeting to come together and talk about what we've done, what we want to do next meeting, and we lay down some objectives that we want to finish by that time. What we've done this consistently for every meeting, and it's just our time to just come together after we've done all of the work that we've finished and just write down what everybody's been doing and anything that we've had problems with that we can work out together or talk to the members on data force for any problems that we've been having.
Yeah, and so another thing that we do to help keep the virtual students interacted is any work that we have to do that isn't directly on the robot, we'll try and delegate out to the virtual students. So like for outreach, we have Elizabeth working on that. And then for like finalizing the engineering notebook, we'll have Carly and Elizabeth working on that when they're free, and many other things that we'll have them work on if they have the time and if it's not on the robot.
Does anyone want to take a stab at some of what we saw, like with the FRC kickoff for the innovation challenge, and how we're kind of weighing out whether or not we want to try that? And maybe other teams saw that too and go, hey, you know what, there's something here I could do. Or maybe call me crazy, even the teams can partner together to come up with an idea.
I think that's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that before, but really you're not competing against teams in your region necessarily, right? They're going to put you with teams from all around the world. So, you could kind of maybe form your own sort of sub-team of teams to put forward something together. I hadn't thought of it that way. I love that kind of cooperation. Sarah was from WISE was just sort of sharing as well that they use their own Discord server to meet virtually with their team for their team meetings, and they can therefore assign a couple of kids to work on the robot at the team, robot house, and other people can be participating through that Discord server. So that's another technology piece, right, to use for those remote meetings. Yep. Did anyone have anything that they wanted to chime in about with that innovation challenge from kickoff, or anything else that you had there?
Hey, I'm Brielle from the team, 11260 Upper Creek, and yeah, I've learned a lot about through friends I have through FRC, but I actually wasn't aware that it was something that like FTC kids could participate in. I thought it was purely for FRC, so I don't know, it'd be neat to learn more about for sure, if that's something it is possible for us.
Yes, it's definitely for FTC this year as well as FRC. I don't know if anybody here was on First Lego League Challenge teams previous to being on FTC, because FLL Challenge has had an innovation project with this type of challenge for quite some time now. And so they've decided to bring it up through the other older programs in FIRST, which I think is really exciting because it has a lot of real world implications for you guys with developing business plans and professional pitches for your particular product that you're trying to innovate and put forward as a solution. And I think that's excellent real life skills that you guys will need in the future for in many of your cases. So any other types of questions or comments or things you guys want to share amongst teams? We really do want this to be a conversation. So truly, this is one of those times when we're all we're all in the same virtual room, right? And so this is a good chance to make those connections that we're missing this year in person.
I'm going to nudge the Upper Creek kids. Do you guys want to share how we're handling it virtually? Because we're a really big team with a lot of kids, and they're being really quiet, but they're doing an incredible job of including everybody, and I'd love for them to share what they're doing.
Yeah, I could absolutely start talking about that, what we've done. So yeah, we are, I believe we're a 14-person team this year, and with COVID, that makes it really, really difficult for us to, in previous years, of course, we've had our headquarters building that we could all meet at, but now that's completely unavailable due to COVID restrictions, and we want it to just be as safe as possible. So we opted to just avoid needing to use that as much as possible. So to work around that, we've always, we do weekly Zoom meetings every Monday. And during the meeting, we talk about what each sub-team has completed. So like what hardware did last week, just to share with the whole team so we all are on the same page, and what they plan to do next week. So we get the full picture of what every sub-team is doing, same with software and our resource or administrations teams as well. And our team, we've been essentially driving the robot from house to house as we worked on it and added parts to it, while sanitizing it as we go. And by doing that, we've been able to keep everyone on the team included for hardware and for software. Definitely, I'm not 100% sure what exactly these sub-teams are doing. So if someone from hardware and software wants to chime in to talk about your guys' exact process, that also works. But I know for software, we've been using Git a ton, like uploading code to there. And this year, well, for the last few years, we weren't super dedicated to making sure our Git was completely organized. But this year, we really have put in, the software team has put in a lot of effort to learn about that with the help of some mentors that have given us advice on what we can do to make that better. And that has definitely, according to what I've heard from the software team, it's made that process a lot easier, so we can code from home and then send the code to the robot wherever it is at house. And by doing that, we've kept everyone engaged and able to work on the robot for all these months.
Yeah, so I can add to that a little bit. So, yeah, we haven't had an in-person meeting as a team for probably since like maybe October or something. And so from a hardware standpoint, we've been like designing parts on Onshape and CAD, and then most of our hardware members have 3D printers, so we will print those parts, and then we can send all of our like basic hardware things like screws, and then we can send over tools, and then we just transfer that from like person to person, so then everybody can get a chance to add their own part that they designed and then they built, and then they can put it on the robot. So it's a pretty elegant system that we've got going on so far.
Excellent. Anyone else from Upper Creek want to add anything from another sub-team's perspective or anything else there?
Another thing that our team has used a lot is the app Slack. We communicate a lot on there. We've got multiple channels that we use, our general channel, our announcements. We've got ones for outreach, for resource, for software and outreach. And it's just a really helpful tool that we found that we can communicate without having to be in person. And so we're able to share files on there. We're able to communicate about projects, and it's just overall been very helpful throughout the year. But yeah, if someone on the software team would be up for it, I know you guys have some ways of communicating this year.
Yeah, sorry, I just didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, so we've had so as Brielle said, we've organized our Git and maintained it a lot differently than we did in the other years, and it's definitely proved to be useful. One thing is like we're not ever coding in the master branch. We'll always kind of make a branch off of that and code there, and then we can. GitHub has a really good remerging mechanism, and it's really easy to like create a pull request. And basically, what that allows you to do is other software members can look at the code that you're looking to merge. And they can make comments on it, and they can say, "Hey, maybe this isn't the right way to do this, or maybe this line needs to be changed, or maybe this needs to be formatted differently." And they can leave those comments, and then the original user can maybe make those changes and then resubmit those changes, and then you'll be able to put that back in. So we've been really focusing on that this year. Another thing Hardware was able to, our hardware team did a really good job at the beginning of the season, making a few kind of lower tech bases that we can use as a software team to test stuff, because obviously we're not able to test with the real robot that's being created. So there's a few bases that we have going around on the software team, so we can test like our paths and our maybe if we're doing vision, we can test that as well. And then if hardware ever needs any code, we've been able to set the hardware members up with how to pull and push the code to their computer, and then how to download it onto the robot. So if they ever need any code during a meeting, we can easily just kind of code it and then push it, and then they can pull it and download it, and it's pretty seamless.
Excellent, thank you. Anybody else want to add to that? I was wondering too, just as a kind of general add-on question to this, is the new requirement for an engineering portfolio another way that you can sort of incorporate some of those remote members, because you need to have those kind of up to 15 pages, kind of a smaller thing off to the side? If you're going to participate in those remote competitions, you got to be ready to kind of probably upload those, right? Is that a task that any team has thought about? Hey, that's something those remote members can kind of be doing off to the side?
So I believe what our team's plan is for that is as the student managers on the team have talked about this before, and in general we're thinking once we have a great rough draft for our notebook, we're probably going to look at what we want to summarize and our main points that we have to highlight to use there. And to be honest, we were thinking we would be trying to involve as much of the team as possible in that area, because I definitely think editing it and just making sure it's all together and doing the final touches is totally something that individual students will could do, and that's a great way of interacting with that. But in terms of the content, when it comes to the engineering notebook, just having everyone included, we think is really awesome. So everyone knows. So the notebook isn't some mystery thing to some students, and it's something that everyone knows inside and out. Even the kids who are super mechanically or software focused, and they're not super interested in that stuff, they still know it, and they still understand it, and they can highlight what they believe is most important for their sub-team.
Great points, absolutely. Okay, I think we've taken care of the questions that are in the chat. We did have several people go ahead and put in there, that they are available on Discord. So anybody that's interested to kind of keep track of that, make sure you check out the chat for that. Does anybody have anything new? Let's see here. Okay, so Sarah from WISE, I'm just reading your last question here. WISE has been looking into how to try to get more teams involved, especially newer teams, which is always awesome, to get them more involved with each other. And so Sarah's wondering if there was somewhere to find other teams' contact information. So I'm just going to tell you from my program director standpoint, unfortunately, because of privacy regulations, it's really it's hard to find that contact information. I can't personally give it out, as much as I would love to connect teams and say, hey, let's just get everybody all together. That privacy regulation stuff is really difficult. And that's why when you look up teams on the First Inspires website, you can see team numbers and team names and where they're located, but there's no contact information for coaches. If they don't have their school name, if they're a school related team and they don't have a school name in their team name, you don't even know for sure that they're with that, with the school or not. So that's a hard one. That's why it's really great when there's places like Discord where you guys can get together because people are opting in, right? And I've tried sending out emails from Colorado First to all the teams that are registered to say, hey, teams that want to get connected, let me know. And then I can give out your information amongst that small group of people who opt in. And not many teams do that. They don't respond to that. So I'm sorry. I wish there was a better answer to that. Does anybody who's on the call have a better answer than Discord as far as trying to get teams to opt into something? Because I would love to see more connections. The more, the better, especially when you're talking about mentoring and helping newer teams.
I suppose something that our team tried to do, and something that we did pretty recently, was that we did actually use the team Discord after I had emailed with Catherine, and we got a bit of contact info from that. But she let us know that we'd have to contact teams directly to try and get email addresses to try to see how could we communicate with other teams. But we did use the Discord channel, but what we did was private message a bunch of the individual team members that we saw on the Discord channel saying, hey, we're the outreach team from Up a Creek. We're looking into getting some new team contacts, and we saw that you were on this Discord. Would your team be up for opening a line of communication between us? And so far, that has been really successful for us. I think we've sent out messages to 6 teams so far, and I think we've gotten responses back from 4 of them, with another team also responding to us. And so if you're looking to get some new contacts, I'd highly recommend personal messaging on the Colorado Discord.
Excellent. I'm glad that's been of some success for you, Gavin, and for Up a Creek. That's awesome. Good to hear. Okay. Anybody else have other ideas, other comments, other questions? We have about 5 more minutes, and I'd love to be able to use that time for whatever anybody needs.
Something I thought I'd throw out there as well is for the contacting teams. Thanks. Sorry. Sorry, my cat. So a lot of teams have an Instagram account usually. You can usually just search up a team number or team name on Instagram and see if they show up there. And usually that's another way that we've been able to locate teams. So it's worth a try. Not everyone has one, but I've noticed a ton of FTC teams do have one that they use to communicate with other FTC teams.
Excellent. Thanks, Brielle. Anybody else?
So I have a quick question for BEAST Robotics. I was just very interested in your murder mystery team activity. I was just, in case that would be something our team could possibly do, if you had any more information on that.
Can I answer that one?
Yeah, go for it, Kylie.
I recently found out that the Pikes Peak Public Library, on their website, they have a thing built for, they have a whole page of murder mysteries that they built for teens or whatever.
Escape rooms.
Or escape, I don't know, I thought they were murder mysteries. Or not murder, something. But I don't know. I don't know where Miss Denise found the one that she found, so you should talk about that.
Yeah, I found it online, and it happened to be one with a Christmas theme. So I had to pay, I think, $15 for it, but it was good, and you could search for the different number of people on your team. So I was searching for like eight members in the mystery, 8 characters, sorry, in the mystery. And that was how I found it. So it was online.
Gotcha. That's a really great idea.
Right. And Aiden, I'll look in my files. We tried to do something like that, like an escape room for actually Colorado First alumni, because we try to do events for them, you know, as well. It was back in the fall. And there was actually a free version that this particular website was using at that time. I think you could do a paid subscription too. But anyway, I will look back in my files and see if that's a link that that is still valid with something. And I'll be happy to send that in case Up a Creek might be able to use that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Oh, by the way, Wise is noting that they do Jackbox activities remote game. So that could be another resource for you guys. Okay, this has been a great conversation, guys. I can't tell you how thrilled I am that we had this many people on our conversation, and you guys really came up with so many things to talk about together and play off of each other and really give each other some great ideas. Very, very grateful to BEAST Robotics for leading this discussion and all the time and energy that they put into preparing for this and sharing their experiences as a team this year, and everybody else's comments about their experiences. It has certainly been a season much different from any that any of us have experienced. Those of us who have been in FIRST for over a decade and have never seen the accommodations that all of you guys as teams and coaches have had to make. So thank you so, so much for everything that you are doing to keep this season a great learning experience for everybody on your teams. I'm thrilled that we're starting to talk about our competitions coming up in the spring, and just can't wait to see everything that you guys have been learning and get to present to us as judges, and that we get to see in your recorded robot rounds. So thank you so much to everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording at